All right, the big thing in the news this week, if you haven't heard about it, you must be living under a rock, is the whole ordeal with Apple versus the FBI. The FBI, the government's using this San Bernardino case to say, look at this, Apple is supporting terrorists. People are jumping on board. They're saying, why wouldn't Apple just give them this backdoor into this phone just this one time so that we can potentially find other terrorists out there that this person was connected with. We could stop some potential unnecessary deaths from these nut jobs, and we would be in a much better place. All Apple has to do is this little workaround. But therein lies the problem. You see, the government doesn't exactly have a great track record of just using one backdoor for one singular purpose and then leaving it alone. In fact, the government doesn't even have a good track record of keeping things safe. If Apple was to create this backdoor into this phone and break their own encryption, which they say they don't even have today, and I believe them. I believe they have not spent any time developing a way to break their own encryption. And even if they did, even if they had it, giving that to the government means that all of our information that the NSA, in my mind, has illegally collected over the years without any restriction, without having to go through the normal court processes to get the subpoenas that they need. They've used it outside of the realms of terrorism. So it's not just to keep us safe, if you will. And by the way, there are a lot of laws out there that present themselves as, well, this will keep you safe, so you should do it. But what it doesn't factor in is your loss of privacy. So as somebody probably like you who's never committed a real crime in their life, never been in any trouble, something like this, you would say, well, why do I care if they have access to my phone, if they can listen to my phone conversations, all of that. And on the outset of it, I don't really care. But it's what the precedent that sets, in that you can now spy on me, you can now collect my information, you can now create a profile, and as the government gains more and more control, there is the real risk. This is not just a conspiracy theory. I don't have a tinfoil hat on. This is not a tinfoil hat. It's not a conspiracy theory. We've known the government has overreached. They've done things that are extremely scary in the scheme of things. If you look at some of the experiments that they've unclassified, that they've done on our own citizens, and things that have happened in the past, it's really not that far of a stretch to say the government can get out of control. The government should always fear the people. The people should control the government. So having them collect all this information, building profiles on individuals, recording conversations, having backdoors into your phone, seeing your most personal of personal livelihood gets scary. When you consider where that information could go, now you could start building things on my transactions with the IRS. You could start using that to say that I'm anti-government because of something I said, because I was angry. It could stretch endlessly. But even outside of that, once you create this back door, the government will have it to utilize for anything that they want, even though they're saying, well, we'll just use it this one time. Yeah, right. We know that's not true. They'll use it for certainly any terrorist case. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that they only did use it this one time. This was created and it was only used one time. Can the government really be trusted to keep that encryption break safe? Well, let's see. The most classified documents, top secret, stuffed away, secured in the world would be our military secrets, wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you think that would be more classified than even anything related to cell phones, encryption, all of that type of stuff? When you look at the plans for the F-35, right? This amazing, incredibly innovative, ridiculously expensive jet. Or the F-22, which Chinese planes just happen to look almost exactly alike. Random. We know that they've recently breached the government's site and put 18 million of their employees' data at risk that was taken and stolen from Chinese hackers. We know the F-35's top secret plans were taken. Something around 50 terabytes of information was downloaded. Now, for those of you that are system admins, you think you would notice 50 terabytes of information coming off your server. Either way, no matter how it was done, it was done. Which means that if the Chinese hackers can get and steal that kind of information, is it really that big of a jump to say that the government can't really keep information secure, and that this encryption could end up in anybody's hands, including the Chinese government, who can now build profiles on all the citizens? It could be a smaller thing, even a small hacking group, can get a hold of it and start stealing your photos and everything off of it. It just opens up a precedent that it opens up a Pandora's box that you can't close again. And I happen to side with Apple on this, that the government, while obviously in my heart you say, God, we want to stop these terrorists, you want to find out who their connections are, you want to be able to attempt to put a stop to any plans that may have been going on during that time that now we would have some heads up on. Of course you want to stop that. But the far-reaching problem that lies in giving this seemingly simple solution that everyone should do, as I've just explained, it goes far beyond just this case, this single terrorist. It goes to our privacy. It goes to having true freedom. The internet and our phones, the digital world, is really our last stand of true freedom. Everything else has been taken away. People all the time say, well, why don't kids go out and skateboard and go out and play in the parks and in the woods like we used to do? Well, the reason is because everywhere kids go today, for the most part, they get harassed, right? They've got to deal with cops who feel they have too much control, overreaching power. Not all of them. Some are fantastic people, but we've all seen the videos of how they act, how they treat people. Adults who call the cops on every little thing the kids do and act like they have literally had no childhood themselves, never made any mistakes, never played around somewhere they're not supposed to. Somehow when you age, you suddenly forget what it was like to be a kid, to try to find some place to hang out. You don't have to deal with the ridicule. You don't have to deal with the problems when you're on the internet, that the same legal ramification problems, I should say, because you still have your trolls and stuff, that you have to deal with on the outside. Maybe that's why kids don't want to go out there. So the internet really is a true place of freedom where you can express yourself, where you can get groups together that share similar opinions. You can share videos like this one. And that's why this is so passionate. I'm so passionate about this case. Apple's doing the right thing here. I know for all of those that are very patriotic, want to stop terrorism, hopefully all of us are on that bandwagon, but it can seem like Apple's trying to do a disservice here, or doesn't want to help, or trying to protect the terrorists, but they're really trying to protect you. And that's why big names like the Google founders, etc., are coming in to support Apple. They understand the ramifications of this. People like Donald Trump, who don't really, in my opinion, understand technology, and come out and say, how dare Apple do this? They're not thinking past the media hype here, and most likely just focusing on people's emotional reaction to this. So you can look at Apple's open letter here to their customers, and this is where they're really talking about why they made the decision they did. A lot of the things I've covered here, if you haven't read it, very similar. They talk about the fact that they don't have anything to break into this encryption right now. If they were to create one, it just opens Pandora's box. I gave you some examples of why. They talk about the San Bernardino case, and then the threats and the dangerous president, which is very similar to some of the topics that I covered. I really hope that Apple comes out on top on this. Go ahead, take a look at their letter. I'll link it down below. Tell me what your thoughts are on this. I know it's a passionate thing. Normally in the news, I will talk about a wide variety of subjects, but this is so important, I think, that I just wanted to focus on it this week and get your thoughts and keep it civil. I really am interested in altering opinions of what you might think, why you might think that it's a better idea for Apple to go ahead and create this encryption. Leave your comments below. Look forward to reading them. Until next time, get in there, try to break something.